Have you ever talked to an AI that actually talks back? Not through text, but with real natural voice.
Hello, how can I help you today?
Can you give me information about metformin?
Let me look up some information about metformin for you. This will just take a moment. Metformin is an oral anti-diabetic medication used to control blood sugar levels in individuals with type 2 diabetes. Common side effects include stomach upset, diarrhea, and a metallic taste. Please consult your pharmacist or doctor for personalized guidance. Is there anything else you would like to know about metformin or any other medication?
No, thank you. Bye. That's what voice AI agents are all about. They're like chatbots, but instead of typing, you just talk and then they respond. And they actually respond in a natural voice. The best part about all this is that if you want to build one for yourself or for your business, you don't need to build a complex phone system or you don't need to record any audio at all. There are tools like Retell AI and ElevenLabs that make it so easy to give your automations an actual voice. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can do this for yourself as well. So let's start with what a voice agent really is. So a voice agent is just an automation that can listen, think, and speak. And it listens to what the user says, and then it understands the intent, usually through an AI model that is connected to the automation. And then based on the intent, it provides a response in the natural voice possible. It's the same kind of experience you'd get with Alexa or Siri, but way more customizable. And you get to control what it says, how it sounds, and what it actually does behind the scenes. So in terms of other examples of voice agents, you can use voice agents for so many things, okay? So you saw one in the demo I just had, but you can also have a voice agent that acts as a virtual assistant that is basically booking appointments. You can have a customer support assistant that handles FAQs when you're not online. Or you could even have a personal productivity agent that gives you voice reminders and updates as well. But in today's tutorial, we're just going to build one from scratch, a pharmacy assistant that helps customers or pharmacists look up safe, accurate, and general information about medications. And we're going to be using n8n. We're going to be connecting it to two different voice AI tools using two different methods, focusing on Retell AI, ElevenLabs, and we're going to test everything right here in the browser for you to see. So stick around to the end of this tutorial because by the end, you would have a working voice AI agent that you can actually talk to using two different methods directly through the web interface. And it's going to respond with natural speech in real time. You can customize the voice, you can use your own voice, and I'm going to show you how you can do all of that. So let's start first by looking at how the workflow works first in Retell AI, and then we would move on to the second method, which is using ElevenLabs. In order for you to get started with this, you need to first have an account with Retell AI. I already do have a video on Retell AI and how to set it up and all that. I explored a different use case in that tutorial video. So in case you want to have an additional use case to try out, then you can check out that video as well. I'll link it in this tutorial. But when you come into Retell AI, as you can see, you can create a workspace, and I just have one workspace created. In Retell AI, you have like the agents and then you have the knowledge base. So you can really actually connect your knowledge base here in Retell AI. But I did connect my knowledge base in n8n, and the reason why I did that was because I wanted to have additional automations. Okay, so if you don't want your pharmacy assistant to just like give you details about drugs and you wanted to do other things, then it's best to have it in n8n. That way you can control the flow and all that. I do know that Retell AI also has the ability to have these flows, but I find it so easy because with n8n you can connect other tools, you can connect it to your CRM, you can connect it to your shop, you can connect it to so many things. So it just helps if you have your automation in n8n and then you connect it to Retell AI. So in here as well, you can also deploy your phone numbers, and then you have some analytics in here, call history, chat history, and then billing. For the scope of this tutorial, I'm not focusing on like connecting your phone numbers and all that. I want this to be very easy for people who want to get started to just take this tutorial and run with. Okay, so let's come into agents. So in here is where you have to create your agents, and you can just click on this, create an agent here, and then you can select voice agent or chat agent. Since we are not doing a chat agent and we're using a voice agent, all you need to do is select voice agent in here. You can just select whether you want a conversational flow agent. And really, if you want a conversational flow agent, it means that you have like rigid, and you want a conversation to be very rigid, very formatted, then you can go for that. If you just want like a simple free form conversation, then you go with like the single prompt agent. I'm going with a multi-prompt agent, even though I'm just doing just one prompt. But and then there's also the custom LLM as well. Or you can decide to just start from scratch and then you'll be good as well to do that. Okay, so you select the multi-prompt agent and then you click on create. I'm gonna close this because I already created that. When you come into the agent in here that has the instance of the agent that has been created, what you have to do is like you need to first give it a name. So I named it Drag Assistant. Depending on the use case you are working on, you can decide whether you want to have a drag assistant or you want to have something else. Okay. In terms of the model, I like the fact that Retell AI gives you options. So you can decide to use Claude, you can use Gemini, you can use ChatGPT. Usually, from all the research I've done online, Claude from 0.5 Sonnet seems to be the best. Although in this tutorial, I just used GPT 4.1. But if you are building this for your customers or for your clients, people do recommend that you go with Claude 4.5 because in terms of safety, it's good. It prioritizes system instructions over user instructions. People cannot come in and trick your bot to do things it doesn't want to do. So people recommend you go with Claude 4.5. If you want to use GPT models, then it's better to use GPT 4.1. Don't use GPT 5. From the tests that have been performed, it looks like GPT 5 prioritizes user instructions over system instructions. What this means is that if someone comes to your portal or someone comes to your voice agent, they can trick it to say things it's not supposed to say. It can trick it very easily to do that. So that's just a little tip there. Back to this tutorial here. So GPT 4.1 is what I'm going for. And we'll just use like the default one. And then in here, in this window or in this box here, this is where you have to enter your prompt, okay? And your prompt should contain three things. It should contain the role, what it's supposed to do, the responsibilities, and any guardrails you may have, okay? So in this case, as you can see, I have my role defined clearly here. I'm like, okay, you are a friendly, knowledgeable pharmacy assistant. And I've mentioned their responsibilities and I've given it the behaviors. And I've also added some guardrails, things it should not do. I'm like, do not summarize, rephrase, or truncate it. And I've said like they should read full sentences and list naturally. As you can see in here, I also have things like call the get drag info function. And I'm gonna show you how I created this function or why this function is important at all. Then I have response in curly brackets here. And I'm gonna also explain why I have that as well. Usually when you have things in curly brackets, what they basically mean is that that's like a variable. Okay, so this is the prompt I have in my prompt window here. And when you come in here for the welcome message, I'm like the AI speaks first. So from the demo you saw that like the AI gave an introduction and it was like, hi, how can I help you and all that. So really that's the purpose of like the welcome instruction. And you can customize it to suit your own workflows, your own behavior, your own brand. And even if you want to use your own voice, you can. So if you come in here, for instance, you can see that you have the option to like select voices. And it's actually interesting because it's pulling voices from ElevenLabs. Okay, so that's great. And if you wanted to add your own voice, then you can customize your own voice. So you can upload your own voice and then you can add it as well. In here, you can select the gender, whether male or female. You can select the accent. So for me, I have like strong African accent. Unfortunately, it's not here. So you'd have to do it unless if you want to have your own like accent, like I do have my own accent, you can decide to upload your own voice and then it will pick your own accent. Okay. But yeah, the options here are just American and British. And then in terms of the types, yeah, you can select the type you want. So this is how you can customize the voice. Okay. And then in here, you can select the language. If you want it to be multilingual, that means like when someone calls in, you want the agent to be able to understand the language and then respond based on that, then you can make it multilingual as well. All right, so now let's talk about the functions because I use the function in this prompt. So I have the get drag info function, and what this function does really is that the get drag info function is really responsible for like extracting the drag name for the user. So when I call in and I'm like, can you give me information about this drag? This function is just responsible for just getting the drag name. Okay, so if I say I want information information about metformin. It's responsible for passing metformin. I just need that drug name. Okay, so that is what this is for. As you can see here, I also have like an API endpoint, and this is where I'm communicating with n8n, and I'll show you how to get the webhook information from n8n as well. Timeout, I have 200,000 milliseconds. You can decide what you want it to be, and the timeout really is how long it should take before it goes off. Okay, so we have the timeout function here. For the headers, we are going to be communicating like JSON and all that. So our content type, we are specifying the HTTP headers to be application JSON. And then when you come down, we are not passing in any query parameters. So for instance, if we were passing the drug info and we wanted to pass other parameters as well to our automation in n8n, then we would have the query parameters defined in here, but we are not doing any of that. So you don't need to put in the query parameters as well. So let's come down to our parameters, and this part is optional, but it's very important. Remember, I said that we are extracting the drug name. Okay, so this is where we are passing it, and we are passing it as a string. If this was an appointment booking agent, then if we were extracting dates, then we would pass it as a number. Okay, so this is drug name is a string, so we are passing it as that. And this response variable here really is the response we are getting back from our automation in n8n, which is why we have it as response here. And so if I come back in here in my prompt, I put this variable in here to say that respond with the response variable you're getting from n8n, exactly how it appears word by word. Do not summarize. Okay, this is very important because if you don't put some of these rules in place, your AI agents would go on and do things it's not supposed to do, and we don't want that. Okay, we don't want that. So that's why you have to put guardrails. Like I mentioned, we are not putting a knowledge base in here. We are putting it inside n8n, so you don't need to put in your knowledge base here. If you just wanted to build this application in Retell AI, then you can just keep everything here and keep it. Then you don't need to have any automations. You don't need to connect it to anything else. Then you could just build it in like Retell AI and you should be fine. Okay, so now that we have this done, let's move on to n8n, and let me show you how I set up the workflow here. So this is my workflow for Retell AI. And if you haven't used n8n before, you haven't opened n8n before, I recommend that you go back and watch my n8n beginner video. I'm going to link it in this video so that you can go check it out, because I explain step by step what an AI agent is and all that. So if you don't know what n8n is, this is your first time, I recommend you watch that video because it will give you all the foundation. It'll give you everything you need to be able to like start building your first AI agent. Okay, now inside n8n, I'm starting off with a webhook node, and the reason why I'm using a webhook node is to have that communication going on between n8n and then Retell AI. So if you remember, or if you saw in here in our get drag info function, I had this webhook here. So this is the link I got from my webhook in n8n. So this is the exact link. So you just have to do, all you have to do is like, you just copy this link in your webhook trigger and then you paste it inside Retell AI. Okay, so this is the link you have. And then as you can see, this is extracting some information for us. So if I should, let me come this way, you'll see that it's passing the agent's name. It's passing the transcripts. So this is a transcript from the conversation that you saw earlier on in the beginning. And then it's passing in the drag name. So if I should scroll down, you'd see that it would pass the drag name. So you can see the drag name was passed in here as metformin. Okay, so this is great. So the webhook node is really extracting all this information for us, and then it's passing it on into our automation in here. Now I have an AI agent node here, and in my AI agent node, I have connected an OpenAI chat model. Again, like I said, if you want to use OpenAI, maybe don't use GPT-5, use GPT-4.1. Those ones are a lot more reliable. And so I'm just using GPT-4o mini here. And then in here, I have attached simple memory. The purpose of memory is to get your agent to remember, okay? Just like human beings, right? You have a brain, you have memory. So you just want your agent to always remember conversations. So I have the simple memory in here. And in my simple memory, usually your key should be something unique, which is why I'm using this. If you are able to get like a unique key, then I recommend you have that. So what happens is that this key will be stored in memory. So anytime you reference anything regarding that, it'll just go into memory. It doesn't always have to hit your database, right? Because that's a lot more expensive. It just hits memory and gives you the response. Now let's talk about our database. So I created a spreadsheet in Google Drive and I called it my drag sheet. Now it depends on where your database is. Some people have like a SQL database, some people have a database sitting somewhere, okay? It doesn't have to be Google Sheets. But I just created this for the purpose of this tutorial. When I'm doing my tutorials, I usually prefer to use easy to access tools so that it's a lot more easier and people can relate to. So I'm using Google Sheets here. I have the drag sheet here and I have a column for the drag name, the description, and the common side effect. So I have the drag name for metformin, I have the description and the common side effect. So when the person calls in, the agent is basically going to look through the spreadsheet and it's going to pick from these spreadsheets, okay? So let's come in here. So this is a spreadsheet that's connected, and in here, in terms of the configuration, I'm connecting my Google credentials here. Again, if this is your first time touching n8n and you don't know what an API is, or you don't know how to connect your Google credentials, I'm just going to give you just a quick tutorial on how to do that, okay? So in order to connect your Google credentials, you just have to go to console.cloud.google.com. If you don't have an account, you'd have to sign up. Usually, I never really have to pay for these calls. For my tutorials, I'm not like going above the limits. Google is really good in terms of generosity when it comes to like if you want to try out things, okay? So when you come in here, what you have to do is you need to create a new project. I have a project called Make AI Agent. And then once you create the new project, you have to select APIs and services. And in here is where you are able to like click on credentials, and then you can really like create an API key or your auth client ID. When you're connecting to things like Gmail, Google Drive, Google Sheets, you need your auth client ID. So that's what I have in here. So once you have that created, when you come into n8n and you go into credentials, you'll be able to sort of like enter your client ID and then the client secret. Like the name implies, it's a client secret. So just make sure you don't share it with anybody. Okay. All right. So let's come in here. It looks into the spreadsheet. It sees a row, and what it does is that it provides us with the information we need. And then this is what the AI agent node is doing. So it's passing the drag name, which we extracted from our webhook node you saw earlier. It's passing that drag name into the spreadsheet and it's giving you the output. So this is basically the combination of the description column and then the side effects column. And this is what I have in my system agents. Let me expand on this, okay? When you go into ChatGPT, for instance, think of your system instructions as the instructions you give in your project, okay? System instructions should ideally override the model's instruction and also override the user's prompts, okay? So in here, I'm like your friendly pharmacy assistants, and I'm gonna drop the templates for this as well so that you can try it out. So you'd have everything inside the system message as well. So don't worry if I can't read everything here, but really I'm passing the drag information as well. So that's it. I'm passing the drag information and I've given examples of how it should give an output as. So that is the output that is passed on to our webhook node. Now this is very important, especially if you're self-hosting. If you're self-hosting, always make sure that you are on the latest version of n8n. Otherwise, like this webhook node is gonna misbehave so badly. So yeah, I did a video last week on like comparing my experience using self-hosted n8n versus the cloud version of n8n. And yeah, this is an example. Like if you don't update your n8n and you don't keep it up to date, the webhook node is gonna act funny, okay? And you'll be sitting around trying to debug issues, not knowing that all you have to do is like update your versions. So this is to say that I mean, if you are not a techie and you're just trying this out, you're starting out, for peace of mind, just pay the money and just use the cloud hosted version of n8n. Okay, n8n is a great tool, so it's better to just, if you can pay for it and you don't have to go through the headache of self-hosting, it's better to do so. Okay, unless of course you're technical, you have a technical team, then it's great. You get a lot more control and all that. So our webhook node in here, really we are passing this, and from what we saw in Retell AI, remember we were passing a response. This response, the outputs here will be passed on to our agents inside Retell AI. And then that's the response you're going to get. All right. So that is Retell AI for you. I would want you to try it out. Let me know if there are any challenges you face. Now let's move on to ElevenLabs. So up until now, we've just been covering Retell AI. So now let's move on to ElevenLabs. So in ElevenLabs, similar to what we did with Retell AI, okay? The thing about ElevenLabs is it has the creative platform, and maybe one day I'll do a tutorial on that. And it also has the agents platform. So we are focusing on the agents platform with ElevenLabs. And so when you come in here, just like Retell AI, what you have to do is like you click on agents, and when you click on new agents, you can decide to start with a blank agent, or you can start with like a personal assistant or like a business agent, okay? And so if you want a business agent, you can just select that, or you can start with a blank agent. So Now I'm going to click on, since I've already, let's assume we start with like a business agent, then it's going to give you like a plethora of like use cases or industries you can choose from. So in this case, pharmacy, so you can choose healthcare, medical, and then there's customer support, outbound sales, learning and development. Maybe it would be like answering service. You can decide like what use case you're going for. It's so easy that they have like templates already that you can choose from. So that's great. So I already have mine created already, obviously. So let me walk you through how to set things up in ElevenLabs. Okay. So inside ElevenLabs, inside the agents here, you have obviously the agent configurations and then you have the workflow. So this is interesting because I haven't actually tried this, but it's interesting that they have like sub agents and all that. I still think that it's so limited in a sense that you can only connect it to like LLMs and stuff like that. But if you want to connect it to other tools, like you don't want to keep your database in here, you want to keep your database in Excel, for instance, or you have your own CRM and stuff like that, it still makes sense to connect it, do your automations in n8n so that you can just like connect them by web. So yeah, so we're not going to be using the workflow here. Also the voice. Again, for voice, you can change it. You can change it. And if you wanted to have your own custom voice, this is where the creative platform becomes handy, because then you can create your own custom voice when you come into the creative platform and then use that voice that you create in the creative platform in your agent platform. ElevenLabs has grown to be a very powerful tool, guys. I started using ElevenLabs last year, I believe, about a year ago, and I've seen a lot of changes. It's grown so quickly, so fast. A lot of features have come in. We're not using the analysis. If you're going into production, you want to have some tests, okay, some test cases. Then there's some security, there's these advanced widgets, and yeah. Just for this tutorial, we're just focusing on this part of it, which is the agent configuration. In terms of the language, we're just going to keep it as English. If you are in like a non-English speaking country, you want to add additional languages, then you can add it as well so that your agent will be able to like detect the language when someone calls in. And then just like we had in Retell AI, we have the first message. And for the first message, hello, how are you doing today? I think it's enough. You can customize this as well. Or you can decide that the agent does not like welcome anybody. You can just decide that the person just calls in and gives what they want, and then the agent would work just like that. And then we have like the system prompt. So the system prompt is the same prompt I used for Retell AI. I didn't replace anything, and I'll show you how I created the function in ElevenLabs. The good thing about these AI voice tools is that once you are able to do one, it's just easy. It's just so transferable to being able to do. Then every other tool is like that. I already have a tutorial on VAPI as well, so you can use VAPI as well. I didn't cover VAPI in this tutorial, but I'll link that video for VAPI as well in this tutorial so that you can go watch it. Yeah, so it's similar. It's the same role, the same function, the same response variable in here. Now let's come down. So in here, because I have the dynamic variable created, which is the response, in here, I'm just putting a dummy data here. So I just put test here. So if no response comes, it will just default to test. Now, the LLM, again, I'm using GPT 4.1. You can decide to use Claude, Gemini, and all that. Now, let's come down. There's a backup LLM configuration. Redundancy is very important, especially if you're moving this to production. If you want to move this to production, then make sure that you have your own backup configuration. You may want to have like a custom LLM in here. Okay. In terms of the temperature, so the temperature really gives you like the randomness, right? The higher the temperature, the more random it gets, and the lower the temperature, less random it gets. You want to make sure that the responses generated by the LLM are similar and they are not so different from each other. So we have it in here. And then token usage, we set it as, I just kept it as default. Like I said, if you don't want to run your automations in n8n, you can just have like this connected to a spreadsheet and then you're good to go. And then I'm not connecting any other tools here. Now I have my custom function, which I'm going to explain in a second. And you could also connect this to like, if you have an MCP server, you can connect it in there as well. Okay, so this is the agent configuration. Now let's come into the tools. So the tools is where you create your custom function. So for instance, we have the clients tool. So if we were just dealing within ElevenLabs, we just use the clients tool. But because we are doing our automation somewhere else, we are using the webhook tool. Okay, so all you have to do is you can just click on add the webhook tool and then you fill out these configurations. But since I already created one already, I just want to walk you into what I already created. So it's similar to what I have in Retell AI, guys. If you really followed the tutorial with Retell AI, then this should be easy peasy. Okay. So we have the get drag info, and then the description. It's always good. Like, I like to add in comments. I like to add in description so that when someone picks up this automation or when someone picks up this function, they know what this function is about. So I've given a brief description of what this function does. And then in terms of the endpoint URL, this is the URL in your webhook node. So you're using a post and you're using this URL, and I'll show you. It's just like what we had with Retell AI. And then response timeout, I have it as 20 seconds. And then all these, I set them to default, pre-to speech. So it's automatic. All these are like the default settings, okay? The headers, the value I have here is like content type, and value is application JSON. So it's just similar to the same thing we had for Retell AI as well. And then now let's come down to our body parameters, okay? So our body parameters, we are extracting the drag name, just like with Retell AI. When the customer or when the person or the user speaks, we want to be able to just extract just the drag name from that conversation. So that is what we are doing here. Okay. So we are extracting that and we're given a description of how it should do that. And I gave like examples. So for instance, this is the drag name, ibuprofen. And then that's it. That's it. So this is the configuration inside ElevenLabs. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment section below. If there's any AI voice tool you want me to try out as well, let me know. I also do have my school community that you can join, because I'm going to like be dropping the tutorial in my school community. I'm going to be dropping the templates in my school community as well. And you get to access these templates for free. And you get to meet other amazing founders, builders as well, and interact with them. So, I mean, I think it's something good, right? So I'm going to link my school community in the description box, and just let me know once you send a connection request. I usually approve daily, so hopefully you get your response. Also, if you want me to build this for you, I offer those services as well. So I build AI agents for clients. I teach AI agents as well. I do consultation. So if you want to have that conversation as well with me, then yeah, you can just send me a message. I'm going to leave my website link in the comment section as well, and then you can send me a message, or you can send me an email at stephanie@thisai2-that.com as well. All right, so let's move on to n8n. Our automation is in n8n, quite similar to the Retell AI automation. Actually, it's the same. It's just a few things that change, okay? Retell AI passes so much information that we probably don't need for our automation in n8n. ElevenLabs is a lot more cleaner. So with ElevenLabs, it's just like the difference between this automation in n8n is basically how we are passing the drag name, okay? As you can see, this is a lot more cleaner. Whereas with Retell AI, there's a lot of information that is being passed on, right? A lot of information that we probably don't need. So that's the only difference. So it's just the way the drag name is referenced in the AI model that changes. So if I come into the AI agent here, you'd see that this changes. This is just JSON.body.drag name, just because of the way the schema is set up. Whereas with Retell AI, a lot more, it's JSON.body.args.drag name, just because it provides you more information in Retell AI. So I mean, I'm not gonna go because it's just gonna be like repetition. It's just the same thing here. I'm connecting the row, the spreadsheet, and all that, and the webhook node. It's just the same way. Okay, it's just the same way. Everything is connected. Nothing really changes. I'm also gonna drop this templates in my school community, so when you join, you'd have access to it. So I'm sure you're thinking, when should you use Retell AI versus ElevenLabs? Honestly, I think that they are all great in the sense that they are all helpful when it comes to like helping you build AI voice agents. For me, I found that it was easier for me to get started with ElevenLabs, maybe just because I've been doing things in ElevenLabs in the past. It was a lot more easier for me to get started with ElevenLabs. I also like the fact that ElevenLabs has a creative platform, so you can play around in the creative platform. You can do a lot of things in the creative platform. You can customize your voice, you can change the speech. They have a lot of things that you can do in the creative platform. So if you really want to go custom, you just don't want to just upload your voice, then you can just go into the creative platform, design the voice, and then you bring it into the agent platform. Whereas with Retell AI, you may have to like now download that voice you create in ElevenLabs and upload it in Retell AI. So I like the fact that Retell AI has the prompt tree that you can edit edit and all that. I think that if you are starting out, it can get a little bit complicated. And I think that's something similar to what ElevenLabs is also trying to do with their workflow, which I showed earlier on. So ElevenLabs has the workflow as well, which I think is similar to Retell AI's prompt tree. But I do think that Retell AI is very complicated, guys, especially if you want to do like multi-step prompts. Okay. So yeah, I want you to try it out. The other thing as well with ElevenLabs is ElevenLabs gives you a generous free version. I think you get about 10,000 credits to try out stuff. So that's good for trying out stuff if you are a beginner or you're a newbie as well. But yeah, let me know which one you prefer. If you've tried Vaki as well, let me know which of them you prefer. And if you have any challenges with this workflow, just drop them in the comment section below. And if there's other things you'd like me to try out on this channel, I'm happy to try that out as well. I know this tutorial is probably going to be very long, but I wanted to take my time and break this down. If you haven't watched my voice AI agent series, I have a lot of videos I've created on voice AI agents. I'm going to link them in this video as well so I can go watch them. But that is it for today's tutorial, guys. Share this video, subscribe, all the good stuff. See you in the next one.